Drop it. Yeah.
Now what is going on, everybody? My name is FlexKage and today I've got another video for you. Now yesterday in my third part of the Crusadia tutorial series, I've been talking about some of the best combo engines and extenders and just tech choices overall that you can splash into your Crusadia combo decks. Today I thought I might give you a little more insight on what kind of thought processes are going on behind building a Crusadia combo deck, and also what kind of problems you might face while doing so. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. So I thought I might start things off with showing you my personal Crusadia deck. Now this is pretty much the list that I'm playing right now, and before I explain to you the reasoning behind some of these cards, you should first ask yourself, like, first of all, what kind of combo do you want to play? So what kind of combo run, and what's the end board that you want to have, and then what's the most efficient way of getting there, or what are like the best cards that can accompany this specific strategy. So personally, I chose to go with the Waterfront package right here with the Gamma Seal, since he's extremely oppressive if you do manage to get him out. And then of course the deck's built around that, so I'm playing 15 Crusadia, 16 actually. The extra deck looks pretty standard in that regard as well, so 6 Crusadias, the Guard Dragon package right here. Then I also played the Codebreaker package alongside the Pot of Avarice, some additional endboard pieces. And the way I went at building this deck is I'm playing the maximum amount of Waterfront with the Terraforming. I'm playing the Gamma Seal, of course. I'm playing the Dragon package because it synergizes extremely well, not only with Crusadias but also with the LP. And other than that, my deck pretty much consists of 16 combo starters and 22 extenders overall, since every single Crusadia is also an extender. Then I'm playing the World Crown, which is a very good extender in this deck specifically because it's an additional search target for the crawler as a good follow-up for the turn 3 basically. Exceed is also very huge. I've talked about him multiple times in my past videos. He's way too good not to play him, pretty much. Chaos Dragons in a similar vein. And then just a little bit of protection and some recurrence and potential additional interruptions. As you can see, this deck pretty much focuses on turboing out the Guard Dragon combo and then having additional extenders to go into the Codebreaker combo afterwards. So there pretty much should never come up a situation where you summon the Skull Dread, and whether you draw into the Waterfront or not, you should almost always be able to at least combo off into the Codebreaker combo, summoning out an Appaloosa and then climbing further into an Equimax to at least have some negations on board. However, of course, this is not the only way you could play combo Crusadias. You could also, for example, turbo out a second Saryuja as we used to do before. The only issue is that before it was very easy and resource efficient because Red Start with Metal Dragon was a soft once per turn. However, since he's a hard once per turn, we can't reuse his effect. Most people think that the most efficient way of turboing out a second Skull Dread is by using the Codebreaker combo, and then instead of summoning an Appaloosa with it, for example, you can summon out the second Skull Dread with it. The problem that I see with this is if you don't see the Waterfront after the first Skull Dread, then it might be too late if you see it off of the second Skull Dread due to your hand not having enough resources to not only combo off until the end, but especially collecting the counters, searching out the Gamma Seal and special summoning it out before you link away the Saryuja, right? So therefore, the best way of summoning out Gamma Seal is after if you open the Waterfront off of the first Gamma Seal, off of the first Skull Dread, and then you combo off into the Codebreaker combo, for example, collect enough counters, then summon out the Gamma Seal with the Saryuja and finish your combo into the Equimax. However, in both cases, if you don't manage to draw the Waterfront off of the first Skull Dread, in my specific case right now with this deck list, I still have the pretty much safe and guaranteed backup plan of summoning an Appaloosa with an Equimax, whereas if I hard focus on the second Skull Dread and maybe even leave out the Appaloosa or whatever, and deplenish my resources enough beyond the point where I might even not have enough possibilities to play on afterwards, I'm completely losing out on the power of my combo, right? So I'd rather have a Gamma Seal in some cases and then in other cases a mediocre board, rather than having a Gamma Seal in some cases and then in some cases not having anything at all. So that's why I didn't go with the 2 Skull Dread Turbo variant pretty much. But there are also completely different lines of play that you can go for. So for example, you could also go for something like a Nightmare Griffin. The only issue with Nightmare Griffin is that you have to be extremely careful with your zone placements. So even if you are able to whip out the Gamma Seal, for example, with the Waterfront, or if you're going for an Appaloosa alternatively, or any extra deck monsters really, Equimax, Savage Dragon, whatever, you always have to consider that only monsters that a link monster points to have their effects, basically. So if you summon a Griffin, if you summon a Gamma Seal before the Griffin, you have to consider that Griffin has to point to him at some point. And this has also led me to well, not lose some games, but like in testing my deck and in test hands and stuff. It has happened to me that I summoned the Griffin into a zone, and then later on I wasn't able to summon a monster into a zone that he points to in order to get his effect to be live. So that's something you have to consider, not necessarily while deck building, but rather while playing your combos, so that's important. Another thing is you can splash in a little rocket package here with a Tracer at the quick launch, essentially enabling your deck to play Borrelot Savage Dragon, which usually, because Arborea is a level 3 tuner and it's our only tuner, you can't really do, since there aren't any level 5 monsters in Crusadias or any good level 5 extenders that we can play. Another thing is you can play a little bit Xyz heavier, so rank 4 heavier specifically, for example with the Zodiac package, which also enables you to very well play a Zeus as well, which is a very good backup plan, or just an alternative if you have to go second, for example, or in turn 3. You can summon out a Dryden, go into Borbo, attack directly, and then even if you don't manage to OTK, you can still destroy the entire field with Zeus, for example. And also then there's this little tech that I've thought about recently with Tenki and Whiptail, which can equip to Dryden, for example, but also with, if you draw the Whiptail or a Tenki off of the Skuldred, or just in the middle of your combo, then you can use Skuldred's effect to summon out the Whiptail and have a 1-card rank 4 basically, so that's pretty dope as well. And if you choose to go for a rank 4 heavier route, it doesn't necessarily have to be Zodiac, it can also be any other rank 4 monsters that you have access to. You can also consider playing more level 4 extenders, so for example the Familiars like Ranryu. Ranryu specifically being good because he also synergizes with the God Dragon combo part of the Crusadias, since he's a level 4 dragon monster. But also Head Trigger, who is pretty much always free to summon and is also a level 4 monster, and then again he also enables the Familiars to be special summoned. And the last thing in this section of the video I want to talk about is Pot of Avarice, because before I played the Codebreaker engine, Pot of Avarice had some situations where he wasn't even live. So for example, I performed my God Dragon combo, and the last moment where I was able to, or where I really needed to activate Pot of Avarice because I needed extenders to keep comboing off or whatever, the Pot of Avarice wasn't even live because I only had 4 monsters in my graveyard, right? But if I play the Codebreaker combo, at some point the extra deck is going to be full enough for sure for the Avarice to be able to be activated. That's why I like the synergy between Avarice and the Codebreaker engine a lot. However, if I don't play the Codebreaker engine, then I'm also not playing the Avarice and vice versa. So definitely also keep that in mind when you build your combo deck, so whether the Avarice is going to be live at all or not. But since all of these cards right here, or all these engines and stuff, have pretty much been focusing around turbing out the Waterfront and the Gameciel, but you might not want to do that because it's not extremely consistent. There are also different ways you can play combo Crusadias at all. So in this specific build, this is a build where I only have the Tracer and the Quick Launch in a standard Crusadia Waterfront combo deck. You could also choose to go for a Rocket heavier build, for example. So you could take out the Waterfront completely, and then instead you can put in the Rocket monsters. You can also put in the Boot Sector launch, which is an essential part of the Rocket combo, I want to say. This would also enable even better the World Legacy Guard Dragon, which usually when you play it in Crusadias you can only revive Draco with it, but if you're going with a Rocket heavy build, then you can pretty much revive any of the Rocket monsters. Another important reason why you should consider taking out the Waterfront when you're trying to go for a Rocket heavier build is that Waterfront is a field spell and Boot Sector launch is a field spell as well. So if you know that, looking at your opening hand for example, you know that you have to activate Boot Sector launch pretty soon, or maybe even worse, when you know that you have to activate it later down the combo line, then you would lose out on either counters for the Waterfront because you have to activate it even later than the Boot Sector launch, or there's actually might be even no way for you to activate the Waterfront at all because you will need the Boot Sector launch at a very inconvenient time, pretty much losing you out on any of the negates and making the Gameciel useless on field. So if you're trying to go for a Rocket heavier build and trying to every time go through the Boot Sector launch, which is searchable through Striker Dragon, then it's also a very good call for taking out the Waterfront. And since turboing out the Skuldred isn't a necessity here anymore, because usually the Skuldred's main purpose is to turbo out the Gameciel, you can also consider taking out the Codebreaker combo. And with that, you can also pretty much take out the Appaloosa, because that's always just been an alternative endboard piece for me if I wasn't able to summon out the Gameciel. So that immediately frees up your extra deck and also your main deck a little bit, which would then be filled up immediately with some additional extra deck monsters. And then this not only opens up to you different combo routes altogether, because now you don't have to go through the same Saryuja LP into Saryuja combo, summoning out any one monster from your hand and then climbing into an Equimax, but you can actually go down a Rocket or like Dragon Link heavier route altogether. And then, for example, you could even end on a Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres, which against some decks, especially rogue combo decks that require their normal summon to be successful, can completely shut down their turn by tributing itself to bounce their monster and then summoning out a dragon monster from deck, which can serve multiple purposes as well, because if you manage to do that, and then you summon out from your deck the Amorphage Goliath, it will lock both of you actually out from summoning monsters from the extra deck. But since you have established your board already, locking yourself out of the extra deck is not too big of an issue. Or it is going to cost your opponent the battle phase, because it does sit at 0 defense and 0 attack points after the effect of the Heretic Seal. So your opponent is either going to sacrifice the battle phase to attack over this and then perform a combo, which means he can't OTK you and you have potential to come back the next turn, or he's not even going to be able to play in the first place, and then you're winning the duel off of that. So an important factor to consider, however, when you're playing the Heavenly Spheres is that the Heavenly Spheres has to be in the extra monster zone in order to activate the effect to tribute itself, which means that you can't play Equimax alongside the Heretic Seal, since only having an Equimax on the field doesn't do anything if he's in a main monster zone. However, if you're having the Equimax in the extra monster zone, you won't be able to make use of Heavenly Spheres' effect, so it doesn't even make sense to play this one as well, especially since it's sitting at 0 attack points, right? So it's pretty much choose either or. And also in this case, to consider that if you're not playing Equimax because you're trying to end on a Heretic Seal, then you can also take out the Crawler and the Vanguard, because those are actually only really good in your deck if you're trying to end on an Equimax, because the Crawler can function as a negate with the Equimax. The Vanguard is pretty much also... The Vanguard requires you to have a Crusadia monster on board, and usually the only reason you would have a Crusadia main deck monster on board is to attribute it off for Equimax to negate a card, and without Equimax on board you wouldn't really want to leave a Crusadia monster blank on your board, because it can be cleared very easily. So those two don't make a lot of sense if you're trying to go for the Heretic Seal play. But other than that, there's another very powerful extender actually that it's... Usually you can also play it if you're playing the regular Crusadia Guard Dragon combo because of LP, but even more so in a Rocket Heavy build, because Noctivision Dragon can be special summoned out if you summon a Dark Dragon monster, which all of the Rocket monsters are, and also when you link it away, then you can draw one card. So with 10 monsters or so in your deck being Dark Dragon monsters, special summoning out one of them while having Noctivision Dragon in your hand is not unlikely at all, and especially if you're playing the Soryuja Skullred, then you might even draw into it, and then at a later point in the combo summon out another Dark Dragon monster, and then still profit off of it. So, and the best thing about this is also that it might not be as powerful as something like a Gamma Seal board with 5 or 6 negates or whatever, but it's probably, I want to say, more consistent than the Waterfront combo, since you don't have to draw into any specific combo requirements, and therefore it's a very solid choice for sure. And so the last thing I really want to talk about in this video is a needle fiber heavy combo engine for the Crusadias basically, but it's not really a needle fiber engine where you only use the Crusadias as normal summons and then climbing into some very degenerate needle fiber combos. It's more so a needle fiber combo that very well accompanies the Crusadia combo and even utilizes most of them due to their 11s and stuff. So in this case specifically, you would pretty much always end on 3 interruptions. I want to say it's 100% accessible all the time, because whether you open the Arborea or not, Arborea is an in-archetype tuner that is searchable by Magius, then link 1. So having your standard Crusadia combo means you will always have access to the Arborea, and since you also have a way in your combo to search a spell or trap card, you will always have a live Ultima Yazulkin. Therefore the entire archetype of Crusadia synergizes very well with this combo. But also, in this case specifically, now this list is from Charles from Team COG, so shoutouts, man. Big brain, by the way. This list specifically has some very big benefits, because not only is the combo 100% accessible all the time, as opposed to the Waterfront combo, which you have to draw into first, but it also allows you to play different combo starters pretty much, or different combo extenders. So for example, the Wielder and the Tracker, which can be special summoned for free if you control a level 3 monster, they themselves are level 3 monsters as well. And the Wielder is a tuner, so pretty much any good tuner extender that is out there that can special summon itself, for example, can be of use here. Then there's also the Plague Spreader, but this immediately also means that you have different targets for your needle fiber, so it's not like you're playing the one brick, and then when you banish it off of the desires, your game is completely over. Instead, you're playing 9 level 3 Crusadia monsters, one of them is a tuner even, and then you're playing these other level 3 monsters that you can also use for your synchro summoning plays, right? So this opens up pretty much, and this completely alleviates the stress that you have of playing tuner bricks in your deck. while at the same time expanding your combo plays, because with all these level 3s in your deck, you can also play something like the Bamboozling Gossip Shadow, which is pretty much a rank 3 monster negate, and especially if you're playing something like Terror Top with Takatomborg, you can even protect yourself from Nibiru before you normal summon your monster, because Terror Top doesn't require you to normal summon, right? So even before your combo started, you're protected from Nibiru, so that's pretty much insane. And this deck just harbors lots of consistency, resiliency against hand traps, and different problems. So another big problem Crusadia faces sometimes if you don't open combo starters and extenders enough, which with this deck is kind of even less of an issue due to the other extenders that you can play. But the biggest upside of all of them is that Needle Fiber is completely broken, and in this deck you could even play hand traps. So for example, the Ghost Girls are all hand tuner monsters, and also they're level 3, which is perfect because they also synergize with the Tracker and Wielder in this case. And also they're all tuner monsters, so you could normal summon a hand trap even if you don't open a single Crusadia monster, which kind of defies the point of being Crusadia deck, I know, but it still helps your combo. You can normal summon any of the Crusadia any of the hand traps, then special summon something like a Tracker or a Wielder, and then go into Needle Fiber and have full combo. So you can have full combo without even having a Crusadia in hand. You draw cards along the way. You can protect yourself with level 3 monsters, with level 4 monsters. The utility and the resiliency are pretty much insane in this deck, and I think this is a very beautiful creation, while completely deviating from other Crusadia combo variants. And this is again another case compared to the Rocket list I've shown you before, where it's either you're putting up 3 interruptions every turn, but consistently, like pretty much 100% consistently, I want to say, as opposed to having to draw into certain cards and maybe putting up 2 interruptions, maybe putting up 7 interruptions. Of course, putting up 6-7 interruptions is way better, but in the long run, at some point you have to ask yourself, is it worth it, sacrificing 40% of your games, or maybe even more, depending on how maybe your friends play 12 hand traps and then you're not going to be able to play anyway, as opposed to comboing off safely most of the times and then having enough interactions to stop your opponent from playing in most cases. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I hope you learned a lot, and maybe this helped you understand the reasonings behind some of the engines that I've talked about yesterday a little better. And also, I just want to recommend to you again, if you want to build a Crusadia combo deck, then always try to think ahead. What's the game plan? What's the end board that you're desiring by the end of your combo, and what kind of possible ways are there to enhance the combo or just protect it better, or maybe some extenders or engines or tech choices have better synergy with your deck or with other combo engines that you're trying to play than others. So that's basically the main lesson of this video. Always think about the synergy and try to not choose any engines that block your other engines, like for example with the Heavenly Spheres and the Rocket package and the Equimax, right? Because they can be in the extra monster zone at the same time. With that being said, guys, if you enjoyed the video, then leave a like. If you didn't, then do not. But especially, tell me in the comments what you didn't like, because I'm always trying to improve my content. And if you have any other like wacky combo ideas or cool combo routes that are maybe even more resilient or more fun or more explosive than the Needle Fiber combos, Rocket combos I've shown you in this video, then you can also definitely recommend them in the comments. And other than that, guys, see you next time.